who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Roll call.
Mayor Martin.
Here.
Councilor Armin Murcia.
Here.
Councilor Rita Murcia.
Here.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Here.
Councilor Ramirez.
Here.
Councilor Broderick. Councilor Caulfield.
Here.
Councilor Donahue.
Here.
Councilor Elliott. 7 present, 2 absent.
Okay, first, we don't have this as an agenda item, but I think you can tell by the manager's desk, we do have awards to present for Winterfest. I would recognize Special Events Coordinator, Mr. St. Onge. Andy.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to begin by thanking, on behalf of the Winterfest Committee, which comprises at least 30 members from different organizations throughout the city, and over 400 volunteers. I especially want to thank the City Council. I'd like to thank City Manager Bernie Lynch, Mayor Martin, the Winterfest Fundraising Subcommittee, and all of our sponsors, who without any of your support and assistance, Winterfest would not be the successful event that it is today. At this time, I'd like to congratulate and announce the winners of the various competitions that took place throughout the event. I want to mention that the school department is not here tonight, obviously because they're on vacation. We had a high school snowshoe competition that was highly successful, and we had the snowman making competition, which was highly successful. But tonight, I do have here the winners of the other competitions. I'll begin with the North Bowl Soup Competition, and in third place, with a Sicilian sausage tomato bean soup, is Riccardo's Cafe Trattoria. Riccardo?
I'm so hungry.
Irishman was an Italian restaurant.
You would have thought he would bring samples.
Next year.
Congratulations, pal.
All right, in second place, with a chicken and corn chowder. In second place, the Dubliner.
Oh my God.
Bring samples next year. And in first place, and I just want to remind everybody or inform everybody that this is the People's Choice Award. There's 2 awards in regards to the soup competition. There's the People's Choice and then there's the Culinary Award that is judged by 5 judges, which I will mention in a little bit. But in first place, in the People's Choice Award, is French's Restaurant, which was a baked potato soup. Is French's here at all? Perfect. You definitely bring samples next year. Get a good write-up in the paper.
Still third place for the People's Choice.
Yeah, Ricardo, so I just did it. You gave him the ball out. That's okay. The other category, the Culinary Award, which was judged this year by Kathleen Pierce, Nancy Tuttle, and Rachel Brea from the Lowell Sun, Pat Bianco from Bianco's Catering, and Garrett Thurston for God knows what he does. I have no idea. All right. Who knows? But the Culinary Award that was judged by those 5 judges goes to Riccardo's Cafe Trattoria. Want to hold that? Drinks and appetite immediately proceeding this meeting over at Ricardo's. Let's go to the Human Dog Sled, one of our signature events. We have actually two categories here. We have the actual race itself and the competitive portion of the race. Just in time. There are two categories. There are the competition themselves, but then we like to pride ourselves on the costume portion of the event, which I think a lot of people enjoy. And in third place in the costume event is our own parking department violations.
I think they should have came in costume. I think they should come in costume next year. I want to see what they look like.
They actually move like moving violations, never mind parking violations. But I want to remind everybody that third place holds $250 in restaurant gift certificates to downtown. Second place is $500 in gift certificates to downtown restaurants. And in first place is a $1,000 gift certificate. So for this winner, in second place, 5 divers and a clam.
Who's the clam?
Will the clam please step forward?
Show us your pearl. Oh, the oyster has the pearl.
You guys had to have a cable subcommittee meeting right before we come on, huh? In first place with $1,000 in gift certificates to downtown restaurants is our own Moody School. There's no place like the Moody. Please step forward. Okay, now the competitive portion of the event. In second place for the National Human Dog Sled Championships. In second place is ASAP Fire Safety. Apparently slow getting here as well. The national champs this year, and they came from, they raced more than anybody in this race. This was a particularly different format this year. It was double elimination, and you had to run more than one race to be eliminated, and they ran more than anybody, and it's Spooky Electric out of Tewksbury. Congratulations. I found out just today it's not even a real electric company. They just made up the name. There's no such thing. They made up the name.
That's nice.
Congratulations. I've got 2 more awards to give out. There was one down at the Songus Arena. We have the Oompa Lola's Chocolate Factory down there, and we sell candy bars for $1, and the winner gets a basket with all kinds of tickets in there.
Oh, wow.
I mean, there's tickets to everything possible that takes place in the city. Melissa, you didn't slip any parking tickets in there, did you? Oompa Lola Golden Ticket Award chosen was Robert Kearns. Mr. Robert Kearns.
That's nice.
All right, and last but not least, in the spirit of this event, we started this about 4 years ago, this award. This is dedicated to Sue Leggett. It's the Sue Leggett Volunteer of the Year Award. And this gentleman has helped us every year since day one. Him and John Chumley. I can't give it to John Chumley. He's got every other award there is. So, but this gentleman here puts up, and he handles a portion of this event that's, it's not an easy task. He puts up all the signs for this event through all this weather. He works all day, works very hard. And I'd like to introduce you to now Rick Howe. This will be on eBay?
Yeah, this will be on eBay till later tonight. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for this, and I want you to know that when Andy called me last week, the reason I volunteer is that so I don't have to get any exposure, because that's the way I like to lead my life. And I told Andy that I would pay to have the plaque renamed after somebody else, because I thought that a lot of other people worked a lot harder than I did. But and I also want you to know that being friends with John Chumley for probably 25 years, you don't volunteer for anything when he calls you, whether it's March of Dimes, whether it's to fill a table at a last-minute event, or whether it's something like this. But thank you, John, for bringing me to this attention, and thank you all. Appreciate it.
Like I said, this year we had 400 volunteers, so we have 400 more years to give out that award, okay? In closing, I just want to say, I hope everyone here and at home enjoyed this event, and I hope to see you all back in 208, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy, and also thanks to Chris Samaras for helping with the awards. And on behalf of the entire City Council and the school committee, and I know the city manager, we'd like to thank everybody who helped out with this event, both the participants and the volunteers. It was another successful year. Thank you all very much. Councilor Mercia.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. May I say that the firework display, pyrotechnics, was unbelievable. People were thanking me. I wasn't personally responsible, but I wanted to just deliver their message as well. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the February 13 meeting for acceptance.
So moved.
Motion to approve by Councilor Armin Mercier, second by Councilor Rita Mercier. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Under unfinished business, we have an appeal of the denial of a curb cut Drake Petroleum at 378 Gorham Street. This is a matter that was held over from last week. Any questions or concerns from councilors? Councilor Donahue?
No, Mr. Mayor, I would move approval at this time. Last week, I know I was one of the ones who asked to have it delayed, just to give us an opportunity to look at all the materials that were given to us that some of us hadn't seen before last week. Having looked at it, it does seem that every appropriate department has approved this, and the concern was it's a very congested area and whether this was going to pose more difficulty in terms of the traffic, but it seems that all the experts have signed off on it, so I have no objection at this time.
Okay. Motion to approve by Councilor Donahue, seconded by Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If the gentleman could come to the microphone, please. I'm very familiar with that neighborhood, and I see the curb cut is on Elm Street and Auburn Street. You're going to have tankers coming in off Elm Street with...
Yes.
Yes.
That would be the entrance, and then
How are they
exiting
going to exit?
out, wrapping around through the site, and then out onto Auburn Street.
Okay, they won't be going back out on Elm Street,
oh, no.
because
Oh, no.
that's just too difficult.
Yep, right.
Okay,
And
thank
that's part of this problem, of getting that, with the tightness of Auburn Street, just to be able to get that tanker out and through onto Auburn Street.
Okay, it's a very congested neighborhood over there, so, all right.
Any further questions or comments? Roll call.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick? Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott? 7 yeas, 2 absent.
7 yeas, the appeal is approved. Under the city manager's portion of the agenda, we have communications from the manager, responses to various council motions and requests. Any questions or concerns on any of these items? Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of points, if I could. There's a letter from the city manager regarding the Hamilton Canal District developer solicitation. If we could, Mr. Manager, at the appropriate time, refer this information to the Economic Development Subcommittee. I'm not sure we're there yet. I know you're still finishing interviews, but I would hope that by the end of this month, or certainly beginning of March, we would schedule an Economic Development Subcommittee meeting.
Okay, we'll do that, Councilor.
And then the other thing, if I could, there's a couple of reports from CFO Moses. I don't know if it would be appropriate this evening to refer both of those reports to the Finance Subcommittee. Even though I'm not on the Finance Subcommittee in Councilor Elliott's absence, it might make some sense to refer these reports to the Finance Subcommittee. So I'd like to put that in the form of a motion to refer those reports.
Motion to refer, which reports are those,
It's
Counselor?
actually the free cash and FY06 audit and the five-year forecast reports, those two reports.
All right, motion to refer those to the Finance Subcommittee, Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Rita Mercier. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The matters are referred to the Finance Subcommittee.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Rita Mercier?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Okay, any further items? Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, you certainly get back to the council with responses, and it's very, very helpful, and I appreciate that. I believe it was last week or the week before I asked about the stabilization fund, and I said I want to see the legislation on that, and the auditor furnished the council with that legislation. Is that mandated? You indicated we had to put another $40,000 into that account.
Yes.
And the paragraph I'm reading, an act authorizing the city of Lowell to establish a ceiling of the amount required to be appropriated for the supplemental reserve fund. It's only authorizing us. Is it mandated? Is it an absolute must that we put that $40,000 in? Because money is tight, as you well know. And
Yes, it is. It was an act authorizing us to set up the fund and then setting forth the parameters of the fund, which would necessitate that it be increased each year based upon the prior year's budget.
you know, when we went through the some of the fiscal issues during the budget, we couldn't touch any of that money to lower an increase in taxes.
Correct.
What can we use it for? And how much can we use it for? Is it just there to say we're fiscally stable? Or,
It can be utilized during the fiscal year, but it has to be replenished the following fiscal year. So it's there for emergency purposes.
What is the minimum amount we can keep in there?
Well, right now, we're at the minimum. We're actually below the minimum
It's
right now.
$4,200,000.
$4.2 million right now. And that's going to grow each year as the prior year budget has grown.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, at some point...
I'm just reasoning it as they're giving us, they're authorizing the city to put money in there. They're not saying you have to. That's my point.
If I may, Councilor, I think that the more appropriate way of looking at it is that they're authorizing the city to set up the fund, but if you recall, that was a result of the Finance Control Board being here in the city as a result of the city's financial condition back in the early 90s. And it's just the wording of an act of that sort is that it authorizes. That's the special act that was created in large part by the Finance Control Board that was here at the time. And it's pretty standard for communities that have to go through that process to have that type of fund established. But we can, I think at some point in time, certainly, the city can look at amending the legislation or trying to amend the legislation to give more flexibility. I think that's highly unlikely right now, given the city's financial condition. I mean, the Department of Revenue still has us on their list in terms of having the audit completed once again next year prior to their certifying our free cash. They're very pleased with the what we were able to accomplish this year in getting the documentation into them and the audit into them, and they certified our free cash, which is part of that document that Councilor Milonazo referenced. But that down the road, certainly we can look at amending that legislation. But right now, the Department of Revenue would object to that, and I would assume that they would advise the governor to not approve that.
The point I'm trying to bring up, Mr. Manager, and the Madam Auditor, and Tom Moses, is we don't have $40,000 to throw around in every account. We just don't have it. And we're living, as some people might live, paycheck to paycheck. And what is the penalty if we don't put that $40,000 in there? And I don't like the idea of, there could be a tax increase, a 2.5% tax increase. I don't, that's what I'm aiming at.
I think that, to respond to that, Councillor, I think that the repercussion would be that you wouldn't receive a clean audit. And if you don't receive a clean audit, then that jeopardizes your ability to go into the market and borrow money for the ongoing capital projects that we have. And potentially, I would assume, would jeopardize our ability to have our tax rate certified by the Department of Revenue, thereby preventing us from going out and issuing tax bills. So the repercussions are very serious for the city. And I couldn't agree more that we're living paycheck to paycheck, and therein lies the problem, is that the city has not necessarily taken the most prudent actions over the last several years with regards to the finances. And I would say that's essentially a problem of not of the council, but of the information that was provided to the council. And in an attempt to try to make it through some very difficult financial years. But I think that, the direction that we're heading now, and the council has supported, of doing more in the way of financial planning for the city and having more prudent fiscal management, I think is going to get us to a position that we'll be able to have more flexibility. The issue of the reserves, and this is something that Mr. Moses and I were talking about earlier today, the issue of our reserves is very serious, not just in terms of the reserves for the general fund that we're talking about there, but reserves for our health insurance trust fund. And I think I've already identified that to the council before. The fact that we have a tremendous amount of exposure with regards to our risk management, that we don't have necessary reserves there to accommodate us in the event of a major claim. The city's on a very, very thin line with regards to the adequacy of our reserves. And it's going to require us to continue to take the type of actions that we took last year with very careful management of our finances. And
I don't want to belabor this issue. I know my colleagues want to speak on other issues, but Sunday I was talking to some constituents, and just the average family in the city, they're almost crying, Mr. Manager. Their taxes went up so high. Please don't raise my taxes. And there were people out there who aren't just living paycheck to paycheck. And they live on Middlesex Street. I think there's less than 4,000 square feet to their property. And they're paying $1,900 a year in taxes. And I and my colleagues listen to this all the time. And what I'm saying is, it's nice to put $40,000 away in a fund. But that's like a family that doesn't have the money to put in a checking account. If you have to balance the scale somehow. And just to say, well, we're going to raise more taxes, they don't buy it, neither do I. So.
Councillor, again, I couldn't, and I understand, we have a number of issues that we need to talk about tonight, but I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that it's incumbent upon us to try to, find whatever revenue sources we can that are an alternative to the property tax. I think that we need to continue to hold the line and find ways to save money, and that requires cutting back on a number of our expenses. And I look forward to your support as we move into the next budget with helping us reduce those costs. I mean, we raised some of these issues at the last council meeting regarding the potential elimination of positions. And I think that that's probably where we'll be heading, particularly if you're looking at no tax increase next year. And I look forward to your support as we move in that direction.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, just have one other issue. I understand that Mark Rosengard has been hospitalized in the Treasurer's office.
We do have some reports of that, yes.
And
we don't know the circumstances.
Mr. Manager, one of the most dedicated employees any town or city could have. And for what I've been told, the man's been coming in here 7 days a week, 10 hours a day. He's trying to stay ahead of all the work that's in the Treasurer's office. he can't do it. And I don't know whether he had a heart attack, but he's hospitalized. The people down in that treasurer's office need some help. And I was down there today, and they told me they're sending out 60,000 excise bills, and they're way behind on other issues as well. So, I mean, I know I brought it up last week, but that office needs some attention, and Mark Rosengard needs our prayers. Thank you.
Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to say, when we talk about elimination of positions, and that segued me into what Councilor Caulfield said, and I wholeheartedly implore you, Mr. Manager, to please do something with the Treasurer's Office. I, too, know of their burden. And when our city employees are burdened to the point where they're getting sick now on account of the workload, then that's not the way to come into work and address this situation. I know you're probably going to be meeting with them probably Thursday. There's 3 people there that have to get out 61,000 excise tax bills tomorrow. It's one thing to double a load, but when people are getting sick on account of it, it's unacceptable to me. I don't know if we have any means to help them out, but I'm asking you please to get some people in there to lessen the burden placed on these people. It's unbelievable.
Councilor, we are working on a number of different scenarios to increase the staffing in the treasurer's office within the budget that we have.
I hope we can help them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further on responses under the manager's portion, responses to council motions? Councilor Armin Mercier.
With all due respect to my colleague to my left, I don't know what happened to Mr. Rosengard, so to suggest that maybe what happened to him was an overburden of his workload is something that suggests to me there's no evidence of that. I don't know what happened to him. But sometimes heart attacks or conditions that happen to you is not necessarily related to the burden of your office. And I think that we have to tread carefully in suggesting that his illness, whatever it is, was caused by the burden of his office, because we don't know that.
Well,
Councilor, I think you make an excellent point.
Councilor Rita Mercier.
Mr. Mayor, through you to the colleague on my right, I was not meaning that Mr. Rosengard is in the hospital because of overburden of work. I'm saying that because they were short of help to begin with, the department head now is gone through illness, and it's leaving those that are there with such a burden of a workload that they're the people that are going to be sick. That's what I'm expressing with this. If it was misunderstood that this person's in the hospital because of a workload, no, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that I think, and I'm sure that because the people are short-handed with the leader there gone now, it's more of a burden on them, not only with the workload, but on their health as well. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Thank you. Point taken, Councilor. Anything further on the communications from the manager? Mr. Manager?
If I may, just one last point, with regards to the 60,000 tax bills. It sounds like a very large task, but in fact, it's relatively a simple process to do, and one that we can certainly look at outside sources to get those out. It's essentially just putting the postage on those and getting those out. But we'll be working with the staff on a number of those issues.
Thank you. I have one question. Any objection from me from raising it here? Mr. Manager, we have, and I know this matter's been referred to the Finance Subcommittee, but in the 5-year forecast,
yes,
there was a schedule attached to that concerning the Arena Enterprise Fund. I think it's the 3rd page, the 3rd attachment. Mm-hmm. And under the present year, well, there are 2 points, I guess. There's a line for debt service, and it says the debt service schedule's attached, and at least it wasn't attached to mine, I don't think. And then there's no amount shown for debt service for the present year. And I don't know if that's in error or not, but if we could take a look at those matters when they come to the Finance Subcommittee.
We could perhaps have a response to you on that right now. Mr.
Yeah, I'd like to clarify. First of all, a number of those schedules refer to attachments. There's a lot of support documentation that's part of this model that wasn't printed out because without explanation, it can be very confusing. I'll bring it to the subcommittee meeting. Secondly, we had treated debt service a little differently in the past. We hadn't charged debt service directly to the enterprise fund, but we had accounted for that indirect cost on the recap. We've talked with our outside auditors as well as internally, and they advocate charging the debt service directly to the enterprise funds, and this just reflects that change in accounting.
Okay, but, I mean, if you were to look at this, you could walk away with the impression that there was no debt service
Yeah,
in the
that's
present
not-
year. and
that's not true.
And that's not the case.
That's not true.
Right, okay. So I'll look forward to the explanations at the Finance Subcommittee. Okay, any other questions or comments on communications from the manager? Okay, hearing that motion to accept the communications placed on file by Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Ramirez. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The communications are accepted. The next item on the agenda is a request for out-of-state travel. Dear Mayor and City Councilors, attached is a request from William DeRocher, Fire Chief, to send 2 employees of the Lowell Fire Department to training in Emmitsburg, Maryland. One employee will be attending March 5th to March 8th, the other from March 19th to March 23rd. The funds for the per diem for both employees will come from the manager's out-of-state travel account. Any questions regarding this request, please let me know.
Move for approval.
Motion approved by Councilor Caulfield, second by Councilor Ramirez. Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager, the fire department does not have a line item for out-of-state travel? Okay, so they're getting it out of your out-of-state travel. So how much of a line item do you have under the manager's out-of-state travel? Would not be the
That's
same, you probably don't know, that's all right.
That's an excellent question,
Okay,
Counselor.
but that's
I don't have an
okay,
answer
that's
to
not
that.
the point. The out-of-state travel line item is not the same as your manager's contingency account.
That's correct.
Okay, so there must be a beginning figure, and you're taking money out of that, as well as at times in the manager's contingency account, which probably isn't much, like $500, or, I don't know, was it reduced even further than that?
The contingency account?
Yes.
I believe the contingency account is approximately $300,000.
Well, I thought was 500,000, but we
Oh,
probably
yeah, I
made
believe
it
it was-
to,
okay.
300,000 then.
300,000.
All right, if we could have a balance, like a checking account as to when something comes before us, what's left there now, you know what I'm saying? Like a checking account, I just want to balance as to the out-of-state travel line item account and your contingency account. Like, say next week you're going to take something out from your contingency account. Let us have a balance on what's left. Could you do that, please? I don't think that's too hard.
We can try to do that for you, Counselor.
It's going to be too hard of a burden to try to, no, you'll do that, that's fine. I asked that long ago to former,
Just so for clarification, is this for any?
no, just these two.
Okay.
The out-of-state
If I
travel
take
account
anything
and
out of those.
the contingency account, just those two. I don't know, I have this thing to want to know how much is left. That's all right.
We can, I'm sure the auditor can provide that to you at just about any time that you ask.
Thank you, that's fine.
Further questions? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick? Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott? 7 yeas, 2 absent.
7 yeas, the request is approved. Next item concerns reappointments to the Lowell Historic Board. Letter from the manager, dear Mayor and members of the City Council, pursuant to the authority vested in me as City Manager under Section 5A of Chapter 566 of the Acts of 1983, I have reappointed the following persons to the Lowell Historic Board: Richard Lockhart, 91 Beacon Street, as the Lowell Planning Board member for a 2-year term expiring February 28, 2009. Martha Mayo, 145 Lou Street, as the Lowell Historical Society member for a 2-year term expiring February 28, 2009, and Reynold Ilg of 140 Raven Road as the Greater Lowell Bar Association member for a 2-year term expiring February 28, 2009. Under the above referenced statute, confirmation by the City Council is required for these reappointments and is hereby requested. Any questions?
Move approval.
Motion to approve by Councilor Caulfield, seconded by Councilor Donahue. Roll call.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick? Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott? 7 yeas, 2 absent.
7 yeas, the appointments are approved. Next item is reappointments to the Lowell Commission on Disabilities. Dear Mayor and members of the City Council, pursuant to the authority vested in me as City Manager, under Chapter 75 of the Acts of 1983, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 8J, and the Code of City of Lowell, Section 2-123, I am reappointing the following persons to the Lowell Commission on Disability. M. Elizabeth Cannon, 174 Central Street, appointed to a 3-year term, which term will expire February 24, 2010, or until such time as thereafter as a successor is appointed and qualified. Ms. Dorothy Donovan, 305 Pine Street, Lowell, appointed to a 3-year term, which will expire February 24, 2010, or until such time thereafter as a successor is appointed and qualified. Mr. Ron Lassman, 213 Burnham Road, appointed to a 3-year term which will expire February 24, 2010, or until such time thereafter as a successor is appointed and qualified. Mr. John Craig, 50 Stackpole Street, appointed to a 3-year term which will expire February 24, 2010, or until such time thereafter as a successor is appointed and qualified. Under the above referenced ordinance, confirmation by the City Council is required and is hereby requested. Very truly yours, Bernard F. Lynch, City Manager.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I want to thank and congratulate Councilor Bud Caulfield for being the chairperson all these years on that commission. Now would be a great time if he could just say when these meetings are held and where they're open to the public, if he could just give some information like that.
Well, I'd like to inform you, Council, I'm no longer the chairperson. I'm the vice chair. Elizabeth Cannon is the new chairperson. We meet once a month in the council chambers. I think the next meeting is March the 8th on a Thursday evening, 5 o'clock. But I cannot say enough about these board members that this council is going to reappoint. Elizabeth Cannon is the executive director of the Lowell Association for the Blind. Dorothy Donovan is blind herself, makes every single meeting. Ron Lassman and John Craig are disabled, but they make every single meeting, and they make a difference for people with a disability. And I want to thank the manager for bringing the names forward to reappoint them to this very important commission we have in the city. They work tirelessly, very, very dedicated, and whether it's an ice storm or whether it's a beautiful evening out there, they're here. And I just want to personally thank them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Further questions about these appointments? Motion to approve by Councilor Rita Mercia, second by Councilor Ramirez. Roll call.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick? Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott? 7 yeas, 2 absent.
The next item is a vote declaring surplus the properties at 29 Smith Street and 30 Henry Avenue, Lowell, and authorizing the city manager to seek proposals for the disposition thereof under the yard sale program adopted by the City Council on June 9, 1998. Motion to waive the first full reading by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Rita Mercier. All those in favor of waiving the first full reading say aye. Any opposed? The first full reading is waived. Second reading by title. A vote declaring surplus the properties at 29 Smith Street and 30 Henry Avenue, Lowell, and authorizing the city manager to seek proposals for the disposition thereof under the yard sale program adopted by the City Council on June 9, 1998. Questions? Councilor Caulfield?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion to approve by Councilor Rita Mercia, seconded by Councilor Ramirez. Roll call.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez? Yes. Councilor Broderick? Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott? 7 yeas, 2 absent.
7 yeas, the vote is approved. Next item is an appropriation transfer in order to meet fixed charges and current expenses for the City of Lowell for the year 2006-2007 is ordered by the City Council of Lowell as follows, that the amount of $500 is hereby appropriated to elections postage, and in order to provide for such appropriation, the above amount is hereby transferred for said purpose from election census forms printing to provide funds to cover the cost of mailing out the annual city census, which has gone up due to an increase in the amount of households receiving mailings this year. Order recommended and introduced by Bernard F. Lynch, City Manager. Questions? Roll call.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick? Councilor Caulfield?
yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott? 7 yeas, 2 absent.
7 yeas, the order is approved. Subcommittee reports. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. The Council Subcommittee on Cable Television convened a meeting this evening. On that subcommittee is Councilor George Ramirez and Councilor Rita Mercia. Also in attendance was Councilor Donahue, Councilor Milonazo, Manager Lynch, Mayor Martin, Solicitor Christine O'Connor, Richard Howe Jr., Tom Wortman. I know I must have forgotten someone. If I did, I apologize. And the city clerk, Richard Johnson. I indicated that, the subcommittee indicated, we received a very nice apologetic letter from Alan Topia, and that was read and placed on file. We also received a letter from the Executive Director, Robert Haig, indicating twice in the letter that inappropriate material was shown on Lowell Telecommunication Access Channel. We also received a ruling, the council received a ruling, as well as the subcommittee, from Solicitor David Fenton. And David does just a great job representing the law in the city. And representing David Fenton tonight was Christine O'Connor. And I'll just read one small paragraph. It's the court in Denver referred to the system of locally managed supervision as a publicly accountable system of maintaining responsible programs. The court in Denver went on to add that common sense suggests that the public nonprofit control system would normally avoid, minimize, or eliminate any child-related problems concerning patently offensive programming. Also in attendance was naturally Robert Haig and Alan Topia, and Mr. Haig agreed that the city and Lowell Telecommunications is on the same page, and they're going to address this issue extensively with the executive board, and I believe there's a board of directors meeting tomorrow at 8 o'clock. And the subcommittee, I want to thank the subcommittee for diligent work on this issue, and we addressed it immediately, and I think one of the great things with this city is we don't sweep anything under the rug. We address it right up front, and that's what we did with this issue. Also in attendance this evening was 27 members of the Southeast Asian community, and they brought forward a complaint, and the spokesman for the community was Thel Sa, and they have a problem with one of the Cambodian shows on Wednesday evening, and they have a problem with the person who was anchoring that show, and Mr. Haig has indicated that they will address that, but Mr. Sa has indicated they have complained for at least 7 years about this problem. This is a problem we cannot let fester, we can't let it continue, and we can't let one community of our city be harassed in a negative way. So Mr. Haig has more or less assured the subcommittee that this will be addressed, and we want a report forthcoming from him addressing this issue. The Southeast Asian community seemed very happy and elated that we addressed their issue, and that was the subcommittee report. Thank you. If my colleagues like to add it.
There was not much more to add, Mr. Mayor. He kind of summed it all up. But it is kind of disheartening to see that there were 28 Southeast Asians in the audience, and there is not one Southeast Asian on our board. That, to me, is very troubling, considering that there's 33,000 Southeast Asians in the city, and so I think something should be done about that. The board members, there are 28 board members. I know that when we were soliciting people to come on board, I didn't know of any that were interested, but tonight it seemed like everybody in the audience was interested. I don't know if they misunderstood the communication or what, but we're going to look into it and see if possibly they can be allowed to come on board. I think that there'd be a welcome addition. I just didn't realize that there were any people out there that were interested of Southeast Asian ethnicity, so we'll see what we can do to make them members of the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further on the subcommittee report? Motion to accept the report by Councilor Ramirez, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Any further subcommittee reports? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to the petitions. We have one petition from Arthur Roberts, 6 Barton Ave, requesting a handicap parking sign. Motion to refer to the traffic engineer by Councilor Ramirez, seconded by Councilor Armin Mercier. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The matter is referred to the traffic engineer. Under the motions, first motion is by Councilor Rita Mercier. The City Council requests the City Manager have the Director of Parking clarify policies and procedures for garage parking during snow emergencies as it relates to special events. Second by Councilor Ramirez. Councilor Rita Mercier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sometimes we have a way of getting motions because we hear about it from some other source. It is quite possible that snowstorms and winter parking bans and special event shows at the arena and/or the auditorium can all take place at the same time, and that is just what happened on Wednesday, the February 14th. A snowstorm took place on Valentine's Day, and a parking ban went into effect, which allowed Lowell residents to park for free at all the garages. And I, as was one of the residents at one time to park for free in the garages. I thought that service was advantageous to me, and I took advantage of it because of the limited parking that I had at one time on Royal Street. So we followed each other down into the garage and left a vehicle there and took a vehicle home, and it was quite a service that I appreciated. So it was a very advantageous opportunity for me, so I know that it's warranted for the residents of the city. In the evening of this parking ban, an event was taking place at the auditorium, so patrons who probably would park for free on the street were now made to park in the immediate garages, and justifiably so. It's a parking ban, you need to be off the street. While I know that those that parked at the garage were not people who fret over money so easily, it was understood that there was free parking in the garages, and it never stated anywhere that that parking in the garages was free for only for snow emergency parking, except those parking to attend an event. There was no distinction. And I know there's no distinction because I have it from the website. I printed it out, and it said snow emergency winter parking ban in effect, and it says all the city's parking garages will be open for free parking during the snowstorm emergency. But my concern is that it does not state anything further than that. My concern is to inform the public we are not mind readers, that this is probably not a big deal, but it is the principle of the thing. We need to clarify the policy because I could not find where it indicated when you pay and when you don't. So when I pulled this from the internet, it was a notice informing that all city parking garages will be open for free emergency parking during the snow emergency. This was all in bold, large bold letters, which should have followed on the website or at the garage itself, up on the wall somewhere, would be a sentence after it saying, "This, however, does not apply to vehicles parking for special events or shows. They are subject to charge. All other vehicles are free." Now, there could have been an event at the Songus Arena during the snow parking. I'm not trying to single out the auditorium. I'm trying to say that events take place and people, there's shows that can't be, dismissed. You have to go on with the show. And so that's what I wanted to say because it doesn't indicate it. My second concern, which I already have an answer from Chuck Carney already, when I heard the radio program, that a caller called up, and this was a concern to me because I couldn't believe what I was hearing, that a person who is disabled and attended a show or an event and parked at the garage was subject to pay for parking. And I'm not sure if this is true, and I wasn't happy with that, so I was asking for a reply, but I did get a reply. And Chuck Carney says, if I might read it, "I want to clarify your question on handicap parking. The City of Lowell Parking never charges handicapped people for parking as long as they display a handicap placard." The handicap caller that called on that program that morning, and I want to clarify this, said that he was being charged to park. This happened to be the end of the Davidson Street parking lot. The Davidson parking lot is a city parking lot, but he was parking in a private operation further down the street that has nothing to do with our city garages. So I wanted to clarify that. But I do want some clarification on this winter parking ban in effect, perhaps on the website itself, but in the garages itself. So, and I don't think it's a matter of $5. I really don't. It's the point of the issue that it's not specified. So it's easy to say that there's free parking for people to get your car off, except if you go into an event. You pay $5 or whatever the subject to charge. So let's just clarify it. It's as simple as that. It's just the wording. Let's word it. There's a technicality that legally, 25 people, 30 people could get their money back, but I don't think it's a question of that. It's a question of being clear, and I think that's important. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Next motion by Councilor Caulfield. Request that the City Council vote to eliminate funding the City Council School Committee inaugural reception. Second by Councilor Rita Mercia.
I don't think that's the wording of your motion, is it?
That's fine. Funding has been inserted on the new agenda, so that's...
I'm reading it. I'll read it again. Why don't I read it again? Request that the City Council vote to eliminate funding the City Council School Committee inaugural reception.
All right.
Second by Councilor Rita Mercia. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the motion speaks for itself with a tax increase, fee increase, a fiscal outlook for 2008. I just think it's prudent that we suspend any more of these inaugural dinners and so forth. In 1992, the council did the same because we had a fiscal dilemma. And I just feel that if the council elect in 2008, the school committee, and once again, the school committee budget, Mr. Mayor, falls under the jurisdiction of the school department budget falls under the jurisdiction of the school committee. Has nothing to do with us. But if the council, the school committee would like to get together and go out for dinner, one of the local restaurants downtown, whatever, so be it. But I don't think we should be relying on the money coming from the budget and so forth. And that's the gist of the motion. And I think it's, at this point in time where we have some fiscal crisis, we should just put this on a shelf and leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion's approved. I believe that concludes the agenda. Councilor Rita Mercia?
You didn't think you'd get any opposition to that, did you?
No, I didn't. Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the city manager. Just as I was leaving the house to come to the city council meeting, and it kind of happens quite frequently when someone has a very big concern, and to this person it is a concern. I know that we had a recent snowstorm there a while ago, but I'm wondering who's responsible for the bridges sidewalk. For example, the one on Rogers Street, there's a bridge. The sidewalks, you can't even get across. So I'm concerned about the Church Street Bridge. All right, I get three bridges. The Church Street Bridge, the East Merrimack Street Bridge by the Sun Building, and the Rogers Street Bridge, the East Merrimack Street Bridge, and the Church Street Bridge. And I'm saying that if you have some problems where we don't know if we have enough people to do this, our sheriff's department does community service, we can do that. But just give us a call, and so that we're not infringing on union rules or taking the job away from somebody else. We're partners here, and we're happy to do it. So just say the word and we'll get it done, because people have to walk. Not everybody has a car, and they have to get to the downtown or to different places.
We will follow up on those, and we'll be in touch if we need some additional
Well, if
assistance.
you need help, call my deputy. Thank you.
Councilor Ramirez, did you have something?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Quite briefly, I had a call from a constituent regarding sidewalks that have not been shoveled along the Route 38 corridor, Roger Street. A lot of folks are having to walk out on the street. I don't know whether that's our responsibility or if it's the business's responsibility, and if there's a ticket or what have you, but maybe we can just...
We'll follow up on that, Counselor, and we'll see who's responsible, which particular areas.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Motion to adjourn by Councilor Armin Mercia, seconded by Councilor Milonazo. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Stand adjourned.